Kina Ledama.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, I rise to support this report. And as I rise to support this report, I want to remind us, because we are all getting very emotional and sometimes very sensational, that debate serves as a platform for intellectual exchange, constructive dialogue, and the exploration of diverse perspectives on complex issues, such as this. The reason why we're discussing this NADCO report is because of complexity in our thinking. You know, as men, as members of the opposition, as members who forms the government, that is what is leading us into debating this report. You know, as we talk to Kenyans, a lot of people would be asking, what exactly are we debating? And I just want to say that debate now gives us a structure and an engagement way to explore and analyze different viewpoints, leading to a deeper understanding of the topic at hand. The topic at hand, Madam Speaker, is the NADCO report. And what is this NADCO report? I'd want to disabuse this belief that NADCO report is something which is so bad or so good, it is just part of our day-to-day thinking. We fought, we had a context, some of us felt cheated, others felt like they won. We drove this country, a country which we so love and which we hope that we will keep it for future generation. We drove it into misery. People died. You know, we rose the cost of living. People lost faith. People stopped being patriotic. So what do we do? At first, as any sane leader would think, it is let us go and try and find out what ails us. But Madam Speaker, as I make my contribution on this NADCO report, because I've read it, and I will limit my contribution to only 6 parts. Only 6 parts. The first part is to define what exactly are we doing. We are passing a motion, or we are discussing a motion to be able to amend the Constitution. Number 1, Madam Speaker. To amend this Constitution to create an office of the leader of opposition. It is not to create an office for Raila Amolo Odinga. It is not to create an office for Kalonzo Musyoka. It is to create a leader of the opposition, so whoever wins, whoever loses, becomes the opposition, and he leads so that he can be able to give an alternative. Madam Speaker, as I support the committee that went and sat there, what is it that I feel that they fail to be able to really understand? The issue number 1, Madam Speaker, is the issue of the 2/3 gender rule. Madam Speaker, I want to reiterate here that gender parity still seems to be unnatural in most people, Madam Speaker. And I want to be honest, and I say that the framers of the Constitution, when they were drafting or promulgating the Constitution of Kenya, they were thinking very clearly when it comes to the issue of gender parity with the county assemblies. And that is why in Article 177, 1B of the Constitution of Kenya, we don't have this beef when it comes to county assemblies. The Constitution clearly stipulates how we avoid this issue. It says that the number of special seats members necessary to ensure, it says that a county assembly consists of, B, the number of special seats members necessary to ensure that no more than 2/3 of the members of the assembly are of the same gender. Madam Speaker, the only way to resolve this issue of gender parity is not by recognizing that there is another body out there which is discussing the issue of gender parity. It is to bring in a constitutional amendment. Amend the Constitution and ensure that there is no one gender that will be able to be more superior than the others. Put it in the Constitution. Why is it that when the framers of the Constitution and the Kenyan Constitution are being promulgated, saw it fit to ensure that at the county assemblies, we control this issue and we put sanity there? Madam Speaker, that is one thing that I feel that this report lacked. Number two, Madam Speaker, I want to keep on reminding us that we have been on this issue of the two-third gender rule for quite some time. We have invited the Supreme Court. The Supreme Court has pronounced itself. Now that we have an opportunity to dialogue, to agree, why not agree to entrench it into the Constitution? Madam Speaker, this report, and which I support, talks about entrenching the NGF fund into the Constitution. It talks about entrenching the CDF. It talks about the Senate oversight. Why leave out the Ward Development Fund? Put it in the Constitution so that we stop all these back and forth about Ward Development Fund or what. Put it there. You have an opportunity to do that. Madam Speaker, the second issue is in the issue of governance. There is a recommendation in this report on the process of impeaching a governor. We already have a law. We have the County Governments Act, I think Section 33, that stipulates. Why not just say, amend it, put in a process? You know, the Constitution, and foresaw an avenue where one time, maybe the president has not been impeached. It is true he hasn't. But who says that in the history of this country a president will ever be impeached? Since we are borrowing the impeachment process with the County Governments Act of the county government, borrowing it from the presidency, why not entrench it there? Number three, Madam Speaker, because of time, I want to talk about this issue of creating of an opposition leader. Madam Speaker, we have to be very clear. We also need to ensure that the Senate leadership office is entrenched in the Constitution. Currently, the Constitution only has the National Assembly leadership. Why not put the Senate leadership office? This report failed in discussing the legislative role of the Senate, which is something which has always been a beef. Madam Speaker, I want us, when we are amending the Constitution, when we are amending these legislative proposals, because there are about 10 of them, to be very clear that every single bill comes to the Senate except the Finance Act. And the Finance Act must be very clear because it's a money bill. We need to relook at Article 110, the entire Article 110, and especially elaborate further on Article 110.3. It is wrong for us to be here in this Senate, yet we are talking about today, we have 28 pieces of legislation which have been denied concurrence by the National Assembly. Then what exactly are we doing? We had members. I believe that's what we failed. The issue of the IEBC, Madam Speaker, as I wrap up because of the time. This report talks about the process of reconstituting the selection panel. I think it is imperative that we are very clear. There is no single sitting president who would ever want commissioners to be appointed way before an election. Every president would want the commissioners to be appointed just about when we are doing an election. Let us be clear. Let us remember that we as politicians will come and go, governments will come and go, this country, Kenya, will remain as a country. So whatever institution we set up for posterity, but not for our own selfish gains, Madam Speaker. The appointment process, Madam Speaker, has to be very clear in terms of ensuring that we protect the IEBC commissioners. As I wind up, Madam Speaker, I still want to reiterate on this issue of the gender rule.
Your time is up. Thank you. Senator Mwende.
Honorable Madam Speaker, for giving me this opportunity, I really want to echo the sentiments that have been expressed by my fellow senators in support of this very important document that has just come before us.